Eyes up. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. Eric Allen alongside a special guest, my buddy from NFL Network, Brian Baldinger, of course, who's doing a great job with his Baldy breakdowns on the Adam Gase Show that you can watch Sunday mornings here locally in New York, 11:30 a.m. Later, we'll be joined by both of our team reporters, Ethan Greenberg and Olivia Landis. It is quiet here, though, Baldy. Mm-hmm. The field is barren behind us because the Jets have embarked on their Week 4 bye. With that being said, a lot of guys you talk to throughout the National Football League say, Week 4, I don't want to buy that early. But for this team, they need it right now.
I think so, because they need to get a lot of players that they've been counting on back. They need to get C.J. Mosley back at middle linebacker. Maybe they can get Sam Darnold back. I mean, they need to get some guys healthy here and really kind of almost start over and start fresh and put the first 3 weeks behind them, because I think they're a much better team than what the record says right now. But really, only anybody's going to look at is the record. And so they need to start coming back as a team. This is a good time, and just start getting ready for Philadelphia. And really, EA, you have to win one before you win two, and they got to find a way to scrap out a win.
You just talked to Jets GM Joe Douglas for a little bit, and he's a guy that you've had a long-time relationship with. What kind of vibe did you get from the Jets football architect? You know,
like what's missing is just the level of detail, especially if you go play the Patriots and they do what they just did. Like just the level of detail in every single part of a play by every single player is just missing. And really the difference between a successful play and an unsuccessful play can be the tiniest of a detail. And the Patriots practice that. It's a culture. It's ingrained. And Joe looks at that, and he looks at where they are right now as a team, and that's the part that's missing, is that level of detail. And that's the difference sometimes.
And sometimes it's going to take time to develop that culture. Obviously, a lot of new here. Jets GM Joe Douglas taking over in June, and you said it to me from day one, is that Joe is going to go to work on this roster each and every day. He's going to look at the waiver wire. He's going to look at trades. He's going to do anything he can to improve this roster, not just in the offseason, but during the season as well. With that being said, let's shift over to the coaching staff. How valuable is this self-scout for Adam Gase and the coaching staff?
Well, I think it's good. I mean, I think sometimes, the coaches can get too close to it, too close to the game plan, too close to, and too emotional about things that didn't work out, and, third quarterback here, and all the things that they've had to do to adjust just to put a team on the field. You can be too close to it sometimes. I think sometimes somebody can, from a kind of a more
30,000-foot view,
like that, they can point to things that they have to concentrate on to get better. I know when I played for the Dallas Cowboys under Tom Landry, we always broke the seasons up into quarters, and we'd have a big team meeting about, it could be the slant series, all right? We're averaging 3.6 yards an attempt, and it's got to get to 4. And if you want to go to the postseason, it's got to be 4.4. And then how are you going to fix the slant series? I mean, so sometimes self-scouting and reflection, even after 3 weeks right now, you can really kind of fix some things that keep showing up.
You just mentioned Sam Darnold before. Help possibly could be on the way at the quarterback position for the New York Jets in Week 5. Sam is targeted that Week 5 return against the Philadelphia Eagles, so have the doctors. With that being said, we know he's not going to be on the football field unless that spleen decreases in size even more. But encouraging signs so far this week. He's doing some light cardio, and he's itching to get back on the field.
Yeah, but you have to – this affliction, you got to be careful because you can relapse, and it happens. I had a brother that had mono when he was in college and came back too soon, and then it set him back. And so as much as he wants to get back, they have to make sure that there is going to be no chance of a relapse where he's going to lose more time. It's better if you and get the next 12 games than to come back too soon.
Defensively, C.J. Mosley, Looks like he'll be back in the lineup against the Eagles, and he is this team's defensive quarterback. Third overall pick in the 2019 draft, Quinnen Williams from Alabama. He was dealing with that ankle sprain. This extra rest should help him. And then, of course, Demaryius Thomas, the guy you traded for, he could line up in base on the outside opposite Robbie Anderson in Week 5 as well. Mosley, getting him back, what would that mean for the defense?
Well, I mean, look, you played the last 2 games without your quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And so when you play without your quarterbacks, where everything goes through them, they're the playmakers, they're the play callers, they change the plays at the line, they get everybody set up. You give yourself a chance for success every play. And you can see from the moment CJ went down, the defense hasn't quite been the same. And so it'll be really important to get both those guys back. And I would imagine, and I would think that you're going to get immediate improvement on both sides of the ball as soon as both those guys get in the lineup.
Yeah, valuable reps for Neville Hewitt, who took over for Avery Williamson.
Mm-hmm.
Once Avery went down with the torn ACL, and he was your starting weak side linebacker, and then he had to shift over to the mic when Mosley went down, and then you had to put Blake Cashman in the starting lineup, a rookie 5th-round pick out of Minnesota, who I think has developed quite nicely. Yeah,
he's played well. I mean, it's on-the-job training. Nobody wants to play a 5th-round pick and start him 2 weeks in a row, but I mean, the guy he's given it everything he's got, and you can't. But the thing that's frustrating here is you can't fault effort. Effort is not the problem here right now. It's not the reason why they're 0-3. And you go to any position and anybody that's been on the field, they're playing hard. Now, they have to play with better detail. They need more experience out there. They need better athletes in Quinnen, in CJ, and get Demaryius out there. I mean, he knows the system. He's played in the system.
Well, let's stick on the defensive side of the ball and move back a level and talk some secondary. For more on that, let's go to our own Ethan Greenberg and Olivia Landis.
Thanks, EA and Brian. Well, continuing on the defensive side of the ball, let's dive into the Jets' secondary now. We know that safety Jamal Adams is really the anchor of this defense, Ethan, but I think one big storyline so far throughout the first 3 games of the season has been the shakeup that we've seen at the cornerback position. Trumaine Johnson did not get the start the past 2 games. It was actually cornerback Nate Hairston, who was just acquired by the Jets through trade via the Colts.
Yeah, I think obviously that's where all eyes go when you're focused particularly on the outside. Even going back to training camp, the question was, how would the Jets' corners perform? Trumaine Johnson and Darryl Roberts got the start in the opener against the Bills, and then after that, Nate Hairston started in place of Johnson. Johnson got a couple reps in last weekend against the Patriots, and I think really Baldy said it best in one of his breakdowns for the website, that the Jets' defense, particularly the secondary, fights very hard. Yeah. And last weekend against the Patriots, obviously, Tom Brady and the Patriots did what they did. Got out to a 20-point lead early on, but Brady only threw for 107 passing yards in the second half. And Neville Hewitt talked about this to Eric Allen and said, we have a lot of young guys on defense, so after people settle down, then they start to perform at a higher level, but they have to know how to start faster. They're not used to that. And Darryl Roberts, as you saw there just a moment ago, Hay had an interception against the Browns. Nate Hairston is a very physical player. And Brian Poole, I mean, this is someone that takes over the nickel spot for Buster Screen, who now a member of the Chicago Bears. And Poole's very aggressive, and he, I think, has had a very good year.
Yeah, actually, Denard Wilson, the DB's coach, was speaking to the media yesterday, and he said that Poole has a very aggressive and physical playing style. He said, I love the way that guy plays. And he said, quote, I would go to war with that guy any day. So clearly the aggressiveness of defensive coordinator Greg Williams, his tactics, it's already showing.
We got to be around me. Sorry.
It's already showing throughout the first 3 games of the season. But Brian, EA, we'll throw it back to you on set to talk more about Greg Williams.
Thanks, guys. It looks like Greenberg's dealing with a little bit of a bee problem there, swatting his head, Baldy. Greg Williams comes over from Cleveland. He was a defensive coordinator for the Browns the last 2 seasons. Did a fine job as their interim head coach. Mm-hmm. And people forget that the Browns were 5-3 under Greg last year. What do you think about the defense's start so far? So far, through 3 games, the Jets have 22 points. on defense and special teams, and also has 7 takeaways.
Yeah, it doesn't matter when it happens. I mean, Darryl Roberts intercepts Baker Mayfield at the end of the game. Jamal, intercepts Jared Stidham, for a touchdown. It doesn't matter when they come, because that's telling you that nobody's packed it in. Everybody's playing hard. They're still trying to make the plays. You can't – look, it looks like gangrene to me. I mean, you're getting a bunch of green hats to the ball. I mean, they're rallying to the football. They've given up some big plays at inopportune times. 3rd and 1 last week. The tight end slips out.
First possession against the Patriots, yep.
So, if you make that mistake against Tom Brady, that's what Tom Brady does to you. He makes you pay. But, I mean, by and large, there's many different players that they've played, and there's been so many players, right? I mean, you can't fault the effort, some of the schemes, and some of the things that Greg is trying to do. His stamp is still on this defense, even though a lot of people are struggling to learn who some of these players are.
We just saw a look at some of the numbers. The rush defense has rebounded after that 4th quarter against the Bills that you pointed out verbally and also on film, where the Bills took advantage of some poor run fits, frankly, and Devin Singletary got off in week 1.
Two big runs by Singletary that I thought really gave that team a real lift when they were down 16-0.
Yeah, but overall, the Jets' rush defense, top 10 in the National Football League, and what you want to see from them, I think, as they get back to play, is more of a pass rush. It hasn't probably been as consistent as Greg would want. Pepsi is giving fans the opportunity to hit the field at MetLife Stadium this fall for a chance to play flag football for Jamal Adams. Not with Jamal Adams, for Jamal Adams, and an experience you will never forget. Enter at PepsiPromos.com/choose your side. PepsiPromos.com/choose your side. Pepsi is the official soft drink of your New York Jets. Let's go back to the offensive side of the ball. I think the most outstanding player on this roster through 3 weeks has been Le'Veon Bell.
I posted something last night, EA, and just watching his first 3 games. And I think you don't look at the stats and don't look at the numbers to say how he's played. I mean, he hit Dante Hightower last week, EA, and he splattered him. That's a grown man. That he dropped that shoulder into him, and he splattered Dante Hightower. I actually think, in some ways, he's actually playing harder and better than any time that we saw him in Pittsburgh, because he's had to. I think there's times when he puts the ball in his hands that he feels like he has to do everything himself, and I think sometimes he does. And so he needs help, and he needs a better performance up front. And so, and they need to figure out, I think they need to figure out Le'Veon as well. And he can run any style. It's not just hesitation. I mean, he can run any style you want. He does have certain things that he likes to do. He is patient. But I think he's running as hard and with as much power as he's ever run.
It's fascinating when you look at the numbers, because I totally agree with you. And we watch your breakdowns, and I get a chance to watch the Jets games on film. He's only averaging 2.9 yards per carry, 6.1 yards per reception, but he's leading the National Football League in terms of running backs with 76 touches so far. And those numbers on the surface are like, well, he's not having a good year. It couldn't be further than the truth.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's on pace for 400 touches, which is an elite back category. I mean, LaDainian Tomlinson. You look at some guys that carry and touch the ball 400 times. I mean, they're not looking like Le'Veon Bell. I mean, they get worn down. But look, he's their best player. You got to put the ball in their hands. I think they can actually do more, because he can run routes as well as any slot receiver. I almost think they could do more with him than what they have done. And we may see some things. But they just have to, there's just too many runs where it's 2 yards or less, where you can just see it.
And he's carrying guys for 2 yards.
And he's doing that. I mean, he's not going down easy. He's putting up a fight. But you could just see how, especially the Patriots in the last game, they're just stacking it, just challenging, whether it's Falk or whether it was Trevor, somebody to, make a play down the field where they're going to back these guys up. I mean, he's seeing the most loaded boxes of any running back in the league right now.
What is the answer up front? I know we could talk about it for a couple hours probably, but heading into this season, you got 3 guys with 2+ years experience together in left tackle Kelvin Beachum, right guard Brian Winters, and obviously right tackle Brandon Shell. The 2 newcomers, Kelechi Osemele, that left guard, a former Pro Bowler.
Mm-hmm.
And then you bring Ryan Khalil in August.
Well, I mean, look, Ryan didn't play at all in the preseason. So he's trying to – now, he had retired. Mentally, he had shut it down. So now you bring him in, and he doesn't play. And then you throw him in there week one against Buffalo. And, look, I mean, I think he needs to play himself into an offense that's unfamiliar with him, where he can really feel comfortable about, like, really directing traffic and where to go and where the right place where the double teams are, all those things that a center's got to do. He's got to learn how to work with 2 new guards. All that stuff takes time, and there isn't enough time in practice to really get a feel for that. Mm-hmm. And then you're playing with a very unique player in Le'Veon Bell. And so all these things have led to what hasn't been a good performance so far. But I think their best football is in front of them. I know who Kelechi is, and I know what kind of player he has been. I mean, he can move the line of scrimmage. And Kelvin and Brandon are capable. They can play better than they have played.
Yeah.
You're going to get a tight end back that I think is a really good player. And so he needs another game of suspension right now, but he's going to come back. This thing is going to get better as the season goes along. At the end of when you get to December, EA, I'd be shocked if Le'Veon doesn't start getting up around the 4.0 mark.
Okay. So communications definitely got to improve, not only just across the line, but between the center and the quarterback, and some of that's just going to be continuity. The Jets became the 6th team in the Super Bowl era to start 3 quarterbacks in as many games to start a regular season. Well, for a look at what's ahead for the New York Jets after the bye, let's go back to the field and send it to Olivia Landis and Ethan Greenberg.
Thanks, guys. Well, now I want to break down the remainder of the schedule. We know that this week obviously is the Jets' Week 4 bye, and after the first 3 games, they now have 13 games remaining in the regular season. And when you look at this schedule, a lot of people have talked about how it's a little bit of a lighter load than the first 3 games of the season that the Jets had.
Right, but when you look at really the next 3 games for the Jets, at the Eagles in Week 5 coming off the bye, then playing home against the Cowboys and the Patriots, that's a tough stretch right there. Obviously, the Patriots defending Super Bowl champs, working backwards here. The Dallas Cowboys have been very impressive so far in 2019. 3-0. Philadelphia Eagles, another former defending Super Bowl champ, they're very loaded up front. They're loaded defensive and offensive lines. Obviously, that's where Joe Douglas comes from. But then you look at the rest of the schedule: Jacksonville, Miami, the Giants, Redskins, Raiders, Bengals, and Dolphins. And that's really where the Jets can start to make a run here. And Adam Gase, in 2016, was a member of the Miami Dolphins. He was the head coach there. His first season there, the Dolphins were 1-4. Mm-hmm. So this territory, being 0-3, is not new to him. Okay, losing a quarterback to Mono, new to him. Losing a quarterback, not new to him. The Dolphins didn't have Ryan Tannehill towards the end of 2016. The Dolphins were 1-4, won 10 of their next 11 games, clinched a playoff berth, and then lost in the wild card round to the Steelers. But this territory is familiar for Adam Gase, and when you look at the schedule, tough now, tough for the next 3 weeks, and then lightens up a little bit moving forward.
And you also have to consider and keep in mind that after the bye and then that 4th game against the Eagles, the Jets are going to be getting a couple of key players that will be coming off of suspensions. One of those players is tight end Chris Herndon, and another is linebacker Brandon Copeland, both important pieces to this Jets starting team. And hey, it'll be good to have them back for that other stretch of the season.
Well, particularly Herndon, as the offense we know has had its struggles. Sam Darnold, Mono, Trevor Siemian out for the year with an ankle, and then in comes Luke Falk. But Chris Herndon, leading up to this season, was going to be featured in Adam Gase's offense. Him and Jamison Crowder have a lot of room to work the middle of the field, and Ryan Griffin's done a nice job replacing Herndon, but Chris Herndon adds a different dynamic to this offense. And when Sam Darnold does come back from mono, you know that he's going to often look for Chris Herndon, because last year those rookies, they developed a chemistry. Herndon second on the team with 502 receiving yards, and honestly looking to grow in year 2, similar to how a lot of people feel about second-year quarterbacks growing. The same could be said for second-year tight end Chris Herndon.
Now, when we think of the rest of the schedule, we're going to also consider which players we expect to make a really big impact for the rest of the season. Who do you have as an impact player when the players get back off of the bye?
So I'm keeping on offense. I'm going to go to the outside, though. I'm going with Robbie Anderson because, to me, Robbie Anderson and Sam Darnold, you saw that connection build over the last 4 games of last season. Robbie off to a slow start in 2019, but not all the blame can be on him.
Yeah.
And he has 105 receiving yards, 10 catches so far through 3 games. But really, when the Jets' offense is humming, Robbie Anderson is a big part of that. And when the Jets don't have someone like Sam Darnold, and then the offense is focused on Le'Veon Bell and maybe Jamison Crowder in the short intermediate game, it doesn't really allow Robbie to go deep, which is obviously what he does well. But moving forward, you had the feeling that Robbie was going to take a step forward in 2019 with Adam Gase, with a more developed chemistry with Darnold, and I expect that to happen not only in the deep game, but in the intermediate and short passing game as well.
I think my impact player is going to be rookie linebacker Blake Cashman. We saw him get starting time actually this past Patriots game because we know that Avery Williamson went down with a season-ending injury, and then C.J. Mosley obviously has been out the past couple of games because of a groin injury, so you have Neville Hewitt in there at that Mike linebacker position, and then Blake Cashman got that starting time, so it's been really good to see him. I think he has a ton of potential, so I'm going to say that he's going to be the impact player.
All right, I like it.
Coming back from the bye.
All right.
Yeah. So let's now go to Baldy and EA back up on set. Let's hear your guys' impact players for the rest of the season.
Thanks, Living Greens, for that schedule breakdown. We were taking a look at that graphic.
Yeah.
What do you see ahead?
I think there's some wins out there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you like look, it's you can't like go win loss, but
No.
It's all about Philadelphia. You just gear up to Philadelphia and you find a way to win a game. And there's a lot of ways to win games, EA. You can win games on special teams. They're taking the ball away. They expect to take the ball away. It's better if those takeaways and touchdowns on defense come in the first quarter than the fourth quarter, but you'll take them. And it's an expectation. And look, you can't overlook any of these games, but there's wins on that schedule there. And if you win one, it's amazing the level of confidence and the belief you have. If you win 2 in this league, like you feel like you're in the playoffs.
Right.
And then if you get to 3, then you feel like you can do anything.
How about that game November 10th at MetLife Stadium? Well, all of a sudden got a little bit more interesting with Daniel Jones' NFL debut. So hopefully him and Sam Darnold are out there slinging on the 10th. But we got a ways to go before then. The Jets are going to have a tough 3-game stretch right out of that bye at Philadelphia. We'll see what happens with them Thursday night in Green Bay. You were talking about the Packers' defense before, awfully stout. Philadelphia might be desperate for a win. That might be a 1-3 team you're going to face at the Link. Dallas Cowboys look like a complete team, and we know the Patriots are on another level right now. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, look, they lose 2 left tackles. They're on a 3rd left tackle they picked up at a bus stop, and you wouldn't know that Isaiah Wynn isn't in there or anybody else. They lost their right tackle the week before. You didn't notice the difference. I mean, whoever steps in there's an expectation of how you play. But they can be playing a free agent at wide receiver in Jacoby Myers. He's making catches for them.
And that defense has been exceptional. The continuity is there, and the secondary is one of the best in the National Football League. Okay, so Baldy, how about you? Who's your player in the Jets who's going to take a post-bye jump?
Well, I happen to like, Herndon at tight end. Like, I just think they've missed him. I think that Sam Darnold, from even last year and throughout the preseason this year, like he has a special relationship with him. You could just tell. When he gets in trouble, that's who he's looking for right now. And so I think he's a really good player, and I think he can be a rising star in this league. He's got to take his punishment here for whatever happened in the offseason. It's 4-game suspension. But I think the last 12 games of the season, I think you're going to see a real difference from that position.
Yeah, it's a good call. I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to take free safety Marcus May. He's a guy who's had his hands on a few balls here early in the season. I think he's going to end up leading this team in interceptions. I like that duo, of course, with him and Jamal Adams. I think May is really reading plays well. His eyes are on it right now. So I look for him to have a nice 13-game stretch when the Jets get back. But, hey, listen, if you enjoyed practice today, presented by SiriusXM, check out Baldy and myself, 11:30 a.m. It's the Adam Gase Show right here in New York on CBS 2, and you can check it out on NewYorkJets.com and Jets app. But it is the bye week. We're getting out of here. Good seeing you, buddy.
Good job, EA. Yep, you bet, man. We got some vacation time.
Yep.